Good evening, my name is Helen Anthony, I'm the chair of the Committee on Finance. I'm calling to order a regular meeting Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 6:04 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Anthony,
Present.
Vice Chairman Taylor is absent, Councilor Angelou. Present. Councilwoman Briggs,
Present.
Councilor Sanchez.
Present.
We have 4 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much, and I'd like to recognize your joined this evening by Councilor Picardo, Councilor Espinal, Councilor Peterson. Thank you so much. We also have Ken Reed from the City Solicitor's Office and our wonderful clerks, Marissa and McDonald. Thank you so much. Okay, they have a motion to waive the reading of items number 1 through 5. Second, thank you. The motion is made by Councilor Briggs, seconded by Councilor Angelou. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, and tonight we have our 18 at the end of the table. So we have Chief Mancini, Director Silveri, Deputy Director Lynn. So would you stand and we'll swear you?
It's Lumber Deputy Finance Director in Buttock. Sarah's got yes.
Madam Chair, you prefer to have the directors of the promissory before this even sworn at this time as well?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much.
Please raise your right hands. Please swear in the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your names and titles for the record.
Director, planning and development. James Warren, Director of Inspection and Standards. Derek Mahoney, Deputy Director of Inspection.
Thank you so much. Okay, Chief, how would you like to proceed?
So Madam Chair, we'll with you that evening, as I have no obligation, but as I understand that Ms. Lindbergh and Mrs. Barrett will lead the presentations as they have. Primarily constructed the entire budget. Confident of that, so if you would, I'll turn it to Director Silveri or Deputy Director.
Okay, and they did a wonderful job in your absence, I would just say. Okay, all right.
Yeah, definitely. I think,
Would you like the director?
Yes, I would.
To the table and deputy director. So just before we start, I will tell you that tonight we are hearing from the Department of Planning and Development. Second, we're going to hear from the Department of Inspection and Standards first. And we are not hearing from the Department of Economic Development. They will not be here this evening, and we will be hearing their report on Tuesday, May 13th. So I just wanted to let you know that I will circulate an updated calendar because we have switching quite a bit already.
Right now.
Okay, with that, we will start with inspections and standards. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This presentation is on the budget proposal for the Department of Inspection and Standards. The budget details of their line items are included in the budget book on pages 116 through 130 for your reference.
May I just have a motion to mark this as exhibit 3.2?
So it's gonna be 2.
All right.
Second.
All right, motion made by Councilor Angelou, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Great, thank you. Please proceed.
Excellent. So this is a revenue generating department. I'm on slide 2, past the cover page. They are one of our largest departmental revenues in the city's operating budget, and is generated primarily from permitting fees. These fees are set by the state department, so the state statute, and the last update was in July 1st of 2017. In fiscal year 2026, we are estimating it will bring in just over $10 million in revenue, which is on trend with the prior year projection, our current year projections and prior year trends. And when we look over historical revenue growth in this department, we've seen approximately $3 million annually over the past 10 years. Their proposed budget expenditures are going up 4% in total. All of the increase is attributable to salaries and benefits. We will be reviewing salaries on the next slide in more detail. Total services and supplies have both been reduced, which has brought their overall budget ask of amongst all DIS divisions to 4%. Are there any questions on any of the individual divisions that make up these numbers?
Could you just, please, describe what's in the services line?
Yeah, certainly. If we make it,
Or is there in more detail as we?
yeah, certainly. So the primary cost of services and inspections and standards is the cost of boarding. When we get to the last slide, there's a breakdown of fixed costs where you'll see the total annual cost of that. They are also paying for postage, advertising for monthly meetings as necessary. There's some memberships to professional organizations, which result in saving on training expenses. But the bulk of their services are related to boarding. The reduction we're seeing this year relates to a pilot program we had for scanning and digitization in fiscal year 2025 that has been reduced in the 2026 budget.
I'd like to recognize the original by council for.
So noted.
Inspections and standards.
Moving on to slide 4. Fiscal year 2026 salaries are at $2.9 million. It is an increase over the fiscal 2025 budget of $2.7 million. This increase is comprised of a cost of living increase for members, bargaining unit members at 2.75%, plus non-union staff up to $100,000. Annual cost of those COLAs is about $57,000. There are also step increases that those employees are eligible for, which would cost approximately $64,000. This is a department that has requested 1 new FTE. That position is a floodplain coordinator and plans examiner supervisor, and the job description for that position is included in this packet. However, we are anticipating that the department will be filling that position with an existing staff member who is receiving a stipend for a certificate that they have. And so there will be a $30,000 savings when that employee, if that employee successfully moves into the new role. All in all, that brings us to the total salary number of $2.9 million.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for this. So great. And this sounds like a great job. And important. Will you be backfilling the job that the person currently has if they step into this step-in job?
Yeah. Oh, will you be backfilling the role?
What's that?
Will you be backfilling the role they're currently in?
I'll be holding the position because I just promoted to a permit tech and an admin assistant plans examiner. So they'll be moving up. So that's how you hold that position.
Oh, so you'll
to be able
hold
to utilize that, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I am gonna interrupt for a minute. I think I should mark the job description and the organization part, which is very important.
You don't want to do the whole thing together
Can we-
as exhibit 2?
As long as we have that, as
All
long
of
as
it.
those are included in exhibit
Yep,
2.
all of them.
Okay,
Yep.
that's it. Can we just pause and see if people have, would this be a good time to pause to take a look at a report chart, or do you want to finish getting your, we only have another page and then we can.
Yeah, it's really, it's up to whatever the committee would prefer. The packet is somewhat small on the presentation to make it easy to flip back and forth.
That's
between
okay.
if we
Why
need
don't
to.
we finish with your presentation and then we'll go back.
One of the things that we wanted to change in the budget presentation for fiscal year 2026 is really itemizing what the difference are between the costs we consider to be fixed and what we consider to be discretionary. I think oftentimes folks view discretionary as kind of an optional expense, and oftentimes they really are things that are required for the city, but we do have a little bit of discretion over how much or how little we utilize these things. And so if you see on this chart here, we have broken down the entire budget for Department of Inspections and Standard into the buckets of either fixed or discretionary, and provided a little bit of notes as to what makes up those individual line items. All in all, they have approximately $561,000 in fixed costs and about $53,000 in discretionary costs.
I'm gonna thank you very much, because that was something I specifically asked for, because we've been talking a lot about how much our fixed costs are and how much our discretionary, and we as a council really need to focus on discretionary.
I firmly agree, and I will say that, this is a new presentation format for those of you that have seen the previous versions, and so we are more than open to suggestions if there's additional information you'd like to see. We're trying to kind of package this in a way that helps you guys make the best decisions possible.
And can I just ask, boarding costs, I didn't understand what that was. So boarding is the boarding up a vacant property.
Correct, yes,
That is a huge amount.
it is, yes.
I didn't realize we had, it seems to be a large amount. I just didn't realize we had that many vacant properties.
It's not just that, I think included in this example.
Oh,
The demo and a board. So, I mean, demo could be 20,000 as opposed to putting a few boards up on the, so.
Okay, so this includes demolition and cleanup. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay. Is that the end of your
that's it.
presentation? Do we just go to the org chart?
Can I have a question?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
On that boarding, is that contracted out or is that within house?
It's contracted out, we go out and bid every couple of years. And the same as the demo.
The same with the demo? And those are just pretty much on city properties or just in general?
No, it's a vacant property that people are getting in and stuff like that, they work with the police, vacate the building and then go it up.
And provide a lien?
A lien on the property. Absolutely.
All right, thank you,
Notify the bank and the home.
thank you.
Questions? Does anyone have any other question right now? Yes, Councilor Sanchez.
Thanks, Roman. This is for the finance team. So are we gonna begin a breakdown like this for every department? If I could ask, I know some of it's kind of like common sense, but is there a way on this graph to include whether it's a service or a supply? Thank you.
Yes, Council Graves.
And why are you doing that? Could you make some of this print a little bit bigger? This is really,
This one. Yeah.
yes.
I'm thinking your.
I'm older than a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, put it on one page. I'm using that one to make it bigger. I just wanted to, before we open it up on the board chart, I just wanted to just make sure everyone understands that the highlighted in orange is your new position.
Correct.
And then you also have the positions that are vacant.
Those are a grayed out position. If you look on there should be gray. If you look at the mechanical inspector positions, that shading, those are the vacant ones that we're unable to fill.
Now, can you tell me what that is and how long they've been vacant?
Typically those positions, so I apologize. The plans examiner, 2 position is vacant. The plans examiner 1 position, I filled it, basically using the funds from the 2. I created 2 plans examiner 1s with the promotion. So I utilized the funding of the 2 to create the 1 position.
So you're not going to fill the 2?
They will over time. The way we structured the positions is that it'll be as you gain experience and certifications, you'll be able to move automatically up to the senior plans examiner. But to get in is about an 8-year process. So to get from a 1 to a 2 is a 5-year process.
Okay.
The deputy mechanical and plumbing and the mechanical inspector 3, I cannot compete with the industry because the state requires that you be licensed to do those inspections.
So what is your plan to fill those?
We went through a bargaining to increase the rate for the deputy, and I'm hoping to get someone. I just posted a position. It'll come down in 15 days. Then we'll see what happens.
And then the other one is the permit tech is vacant.
The permit tech, we're interviewing today.
Okay.
And we have several other interviews, I believe, next week.
I'm just gonna ask, I'm sorry, and then I will turn it back over to the committee for various questions, but, I'll just ask you, you know, with these vacancies, how that's impacting your reorg and how you have planned to run this department more efficiently. I'm only gonna say that we did have some judges, I don't recall who it was, the housing judge, I'm not sure who it was, who said you'd be sure to tell the Division of Inspections and Standards that they don't have enough inspectors. And that they wanted us to hear that loud and clear, so I just wanted to ask you, you know, with these vacancies, how you're operating and how this is. Or, you know, I'm worried that we're not serving the city.
So everything that goes through housing is through the code compliance piece. And we are needing help there. We're revising the way we do things to see if it's processed to people. As you remember, when I first came in, I didn't make any changes. The following year, I made slight changes. What I don't want to do is spend money that I don't need to. This year, we may need due to other requirements or other things that are placed on the department. We may need to increase our code enforcement section. That, and also holding our inspectors accountable. So that's another piece, is that we found a way to utilize our system to track what they do a little bit better. So I understand if they're going to locations and actually following through with locations, things of that nature. Back to the mechanical and plumbing. He works harder. Inspections get pushed out. And that's where we're at. With the state requirement, and some states don't require this, we'll say 80%. Don't require that a mechanical or plumbing inspector to be licensed. Only electrical. The state requires it, so we have to compete with the plumbing industry for the same licensing to get you $120,000 a year. I can't recruit out of that, but I need someone licensed.
And that's a state requirement,
That is a state requirement.
so I'm assuming every municipality is having trouble with,
Absolutely.
but we're the largest, so it would seem to me that we might want to lobby the state. To change its requirements, I'm just saying that this is gonna be a problem moving forward. And then your plans examiner, so I understand what you're doing with your plans examiner one, but how backed up is that particular department?
So, Yaniv is my commercial plans examiner. I got him from Philly last year. He's the one that's also doing, my floodplain reviews. I'm doing the residential. And so I'm training the two individuals. We train every day. And I'm teaching them how to be plans examiners. And then outside of that, I take the reviews home. And I get them done. So we're not at the 14-day mark where I want to be, but we'll get there.
Can I say one thing too, Councilman?
Yes, please.
I get phone calls, and I have for years from judges about the number of cases we send to housing. Which is, in my opinion, not a reflection of what's going on in the community, but more of a reflection of them wanting a lot of cases in housing. And if I have a person who has a problem and has violations, and they can't quite afford to do it, and they need extra time and this and that, I'm not sending them to court, no matter who wants me to send them to court. It's $50 a day per violation. These violations can't ruin people's standards, so the fact that there aren't as many cases going to court is not necessarily a reflection of us not looking over Washington City, but more working more with people than just sending them to court.
I appreciate that, Deputy Director, we all do. And then just one final thing, so your code compliance inspectors, you have enough of them, so that, you know, is that what you're saying currently? Because there seem to be all filled and.
In the ordinance, there are 4 funded and I think 5 or 6 allowed.
Okay.
I have, so the changes this year that have been made in the department is that we purchased little desks for the cars. The inspector's office is in their car, because they're an inspector, not in the office. They spend an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon. Otherwise, they're out in the field. And so I'm coming to a people problem, not a process problem. How we fix that? We have to work on that this year's with the constraints and concerns of where we're at financially. Can we limp another year? I can't say that. What I can say is that there are concerns with response. The $290,000 for boarding also goes for fencing, cleanup. When you have a landlord that has a property that they're not cleaning up and we have them in court and continue infestation, we have a team that goes and does it, and then we leave the property. We fence the property, we board it. But that takes time, so that's an inspector checking on that piece of property 10 times. That takes a clerk 4 times of inputting that information.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you for the presentation. For the team, thank you. I have some few questions. One is for the plans examiner one, who you mentioned is there's a training process to get into plans examiner 2 that takes about 5 years. Does that mean the plans examiner 2 is going to be taken out of the ordinance, or are you keeping that open so
So
they can migrate up at some point? What does that look like?
my point.
Yeah, I'll take this as my director. We have quite a few jobs that are like this. One of them is a fiscal officer job where we have a level of 1, 2, and 3. A lot of times with union jobs, we kind of have that. So some person can kind of grow within their existing role, depending upon what that is. And so for the purposes of the ordinance, I always allow, let's just say we're gonna have, 4 inspectors. I will allow 4 1s, 4 2s, and 4 3s, so that if we have 4 people that manage to stay long enough to become 3s, we have the ability to retain them at that level. However, if we were to lose somebody, we can hire them back at that base level.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful. Is it okay? if I-
Yes, please, go right ahead.
Thank you. Deputy Director, you mentioned, helping folks when they have an issue, which one, thank you again. I know Chairman said that. When you were here last year, you talked a bit about the home repair fund. Does that still exist? Do we still have funding in the home repair fund? I don't remember if that's the right thing to call it, but there were services we could connect to.
No, it's in,
Yeah, is that it?
but, yeah, we actually just, when looking at it in Norway, we have, we did approximately, 74 properties. We spent, a little $3 million on that and the fees to do it, probably well, the fund doesn't, but it was a great success.
Thank you. And President.
Yes, please, go right ahead.
When we heard the overview of the budget 2 days ago, I almost said last week, and I was like, no, wait, that was like 14 hours ago. There was discussion of like combining some of, not combining, but like physically moving some of the departments to interface with the public into one physical space, like on the first floor, 444. Is that DIS part of that?
No, so DIS will be moving into the same building as DPW.
Oh,
And so that business service center is going to be more for like economic development type, like local businesses who are trying to do work with the city of Providence on permitting and licensing and that sort of
okay.
area. The hope is that moving these folks over to the DPW building will result in, kind of more coordination between DPW and, DIS. There's also, I understand, that more public access at that building, so it'll be easier for public to get into DIS.
Okay, so it's still publicly facing.
Yes,
So we need to
exactly.
pull a permit for like a.
Oh, yes, it'll still be very publicly facing. It'll be a little bit nicer of a space, I would assume, than where they're currently in now, because it's a newer building that's been renovated. And the hope is that it will, like, it will definitely still be available to the public, it'll just be a different physical location that is probably more accessible, than where it is.
Okay. And then the budget still has, sorry, I'm just flipping around between all the budgets. I thought it still had rent at 444 in it.
It does, yes. So, that decision to move them happened like as the budget was being built, and the rent at 444 is something that we allocate across departments based on square footage. And so since I don't have the actual cost allocations of square footage at this point in time, we will have to probably between proposed and final budget reallocate the rent amongst the departments that will have it, but you know, the proposed budget, we didn't know. But at the end of the day, the total rent bill in the budget will remain unchanged. It just may go from one department to another.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
No question.
Yes, no. Any other committee members before I call on Council Ricardo? Yes,
Well,
yes, Council. Council Graves.
of these things that are grade that weren't, you don't have anybody, well, you do have somebody in one of them. But the other ones that are vacant, how long have they been vacant? And one, and two, were they part of the things where we were talking about, hiring freeze and not, staffing certain positions, were they any of these?
They became vacant, 3 months after I started, one of them became vacant due to retirement.
Mhm.
And then last year, the other one became vacant because of retirement. So
Well, we
they've
all
only,
know,
they've only been vacant each for a year,
well, yeah,
and I've been trying for a year to get one of them filled.
okay, so,
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but these are not vacant because we haven't posted them through the essential freeze. They're vacant because you have to do it sooner.
Yeah, I posted them,
Yes, so
Okay,
these
that's
are
my- that
considered
was my
special
question.
positions,
yeah, I
yes.
posted them 5 to 6 times.
okay.
Finish, Council?
Yes, I am.
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for educational purposes, in FY 23 and FY 24, there was a significant jump in revenue. Do you guys know what that was? About?
FY 23 and 24.
Yeah,
Well, the jump from 23 to 24 is what you're saying?
yeah,
25? You know, I think that you would know better about what's changed in the department from 22 to 24. But yes, I believe operationally, a lot of things changed, and as a result, we're bringing in more revenue is the financial aspect, but the director could definitely talk more detail about what he's done to make that happen.
What had happened at that time is that we reorganized the department and cleaned up the lines. And so it reduced the drag on processing. That was the biggest thing, reduce the drag, get the permits out the door. Reorganize duties, so people weren't doing 5 different things, they were concentrated on one thing. You have someone, easiest way, you have someone answering 3 phones and trying to process permits, that doesn't work. Have them process permits and find other people answer. And so that's what part of that jump was. We also had a couple large projects come in. Which again, in the end of this, we have another large project, but that's where the jumps came.
thank you. That makes sense. I guess, so I asked that to emphasize or question is there anywhere else in revenue that you think if we invested in full-time employees, like, I don't know, any of those like analysis, like were ran, if we would be able to significantly increase our revenue in your department going forward?
So the one thing that we've done, and then I'm getting ready to launch, is we're putting together prescriptive brochures. So for homeowners, things like that, you want to build a deck, fill in the blanks. It tells me how you're gonna build it. You don't have to draw it, it's already drawn. So what that does is it allows you to get things done faster, because I'm not spending an hour with you trying to figure out what you're trying to draw. The other thing is with the 2 plans examiners, the way I operated back on the West Coast was you could get things done at the counter. You want a deck, same day. You come in, you get the permit out within an hour. So that's one of the big pushes that I'm making here, is to turn the little things that everyone wants around at the counter. So then it's only the bigger things coming in. that, the production builders or commercial spaces, those come in for review, fine. But the little stuff, let's get it done at the counter. With the permit tech position that we're interviewing for, we're moving our inspection line, so more people will be answering the phone for inspections. And then they'll run in cycles, so that way permits are moving faster through the system.
Cool. Just another follow-up.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you. You mentioned like the state requirement, for that specific license for, the mechanical and plumbing engineers. Is there any other like state laws that you see your department like run into on a constant basis that's like kind of outdated? You know, like what comes to mind is, like the complications at the pallet shelter regarding fire code. Is there anything like that you see that we should be aware of to talk to our state delegation friends?
So one thing Rhode Island has, and I understand why they do it, they don't want people to be just an inspector, pick up somebody off the street, make an inspector. I get that. They want construction experience. I understand that. I would push more for certification because you're enforcing a code, not a construction standard. Code is what the book is what we regulate. Well, if you try a nail and you bend a nail, that's not my problem. It's how many nails you have in there, it's what the code is. So that's what we're after. As far as reducing obstacles, I guess you would say, to be more progressive in builds like that, you would have to look at a modular program. If you were to take those structures, get a quick engineered design to build them at a factory locally and have them drop off like a 91, then it's an engineered design, kind of like a manufactured home,
Right.
right? They're HUD rated. So you get the production line those and build those, and then they comply with the HUD standard, not the building code standard.
Right.
And they're HUD rated. There's a little bit of fire stuff that gets in the way. The one thing I would say, and it's known, the state of Rhode Island adopts 2 fire codes, one for the fire marshals and one for the building code. They also adopt 2 building codes, one for the fire marshals and one for the building department. And this is what they say is the most restrictive governance. That's silly. To me, why do you have fire people doing building stuff and building people doing fire stuff? I submitted a request to get this changed. I don't know where it's at. But that's been submitted.
Thank you.
When you say submitted to whom?
Jim Cambio, State Building Commissioner.
Thank you. Councilor Sanchez,
Almost, thank you.
may I just do one quick follow-up on, Councilor Sanchez's question on the revenue? He asked about the increases going from 23 to 25, which he answered, thank you very much. My question is, why aren't our proposed FY 26? It's not even, it's less than what we have for FY 2025, so I don't know why that figure is larger.
Why it's not coming in larger?
Yeah.
So the one thing with projections is, it's the graphs, it's these things of that nature. But you have to take into account the current federal administration. And so the concern is where's the economy going? People aren't going to spend money. What they're going to do, and what we've seen, is they're remodeling homes. Because of interest rates, things of that nature. The higher the rates, the more people remodel their home and stay put. The lower the rates, or the more comfortable people feel with the economy, they're gonna build things, they're gonna put the capital at risk.
But they still have to pull from the remodel.
They will, but it's the value of
Right, that's
construction.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Councilor Pichardo?
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe all over the place, but just trying to have a couple of questions.
Please.
The revenue, as I stated, and is based on revenue projected that has been growing 3 million annually over the past 10 years. So do we have, any indication what numbers were in a sense from 23, 24, 24, 25? What has been that growth? Do we,
Like there is a budget book because
In-
the historicals are included
yes, thank you.
in the book.
Yeah, but
Oh,
do
you
we
want me
know
to
the
put it on?
numbers?
Yes, so in
Yeah.
fiscal year 2023, they brought in a total of $6.2 million.
Yeah,
2024, they brought in $9.4 million. And year to date in 2025 is $10.3 million.
thank you.
Mhm.
And so just wanted to get that clarification and also that way, while we're looking at these numbers, we may, and thank you for providing that because these things are small, but at the same time, we wanted to just get those numbers, as is just indicating, that yes, based on, the past 10 years, it's been growing annually by $3 million. That means it's been a revenue generator in that
Correct.
sense, right? We know that under this budget, there might be some fees being increased, including, permitting. For permits, probably gonna increase, within this, budget, year. The question with that is that, do your inspector come across with, work that's been done and they're not permitted? Who enforces that? Is it your department too?
It is. It
And,
is.
and where do you fine them and they send them to court? How does that, work? And what percentage of that, do you report, do you keep a track of that? And what percentage of that is, the work that's not permitted?
So,
Permitted,
so the work that's not permitted, we're probably about 8% of total work in the city of Providence we catch. The historical process in the department was hit them with a $250 fee. And then get them to come get a permit. Well, that $250 doesn't even cover the time that I'm gonna spend going out, putting the stop work order, things of that nature. It was brought up to our legal team to reread the state statute regarding that $250 fee. Don't know where the $250 came from. But it's gonna go up to $500. And then each additional day you don't have a permit, it's $500. It's cheaper to come get a permit.
right? And are those, based on that 8% and based on the fact that, that the, most likely the fees are gonna go up, these numbers are based and are plugged into the budget?
The numbers I just gave you
Yeah.
are not plugged in there.
Okay,
So those, and this is in the last couple of days, this is kind of like.
okay,
So let's say last year, and I think I was about $25,000. We'll say I was $8,000 in stop work order. So that's $250, about $8,000 worth total. I probably spent $20,000 to get that 8,000. So the new piece would be $500 a day. So what happens there is that once it hits 30 days, I take them to court.
Hmm.
And then we go from there. So I spent probably at one time, I spent 12 hours in the witness stand here.
Hmm.
And that court case was 4 months. $500 a day. Instead of $50 a day.
And that's
So
that's
those are the changes.
yeah, that's an issue then. Furthermore,
Yes.
thank you for that information, and just more clarity, and then even for us, looking to look at these, fines and fees. The other is, the deputy indicated, that sometimes it doesn't just make sense to send people to court, you work with them. And also highlighted that, the repair program that you have, or the money that you had is no longer available. What what tool do you have to work with the people that are no longer going to be sent to court to be able to remediate their issue at their home? You know,
I don't,
was that,
I don't.
you don't have any tool? You work with the economic development, with the home repair programs or anything like that?
That's it, Councilman, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that planning and development has a home repair program. And they did with some federal money. And the reason why I wanted to do a home repair program different from them is that they require a credit check. And in my program, if you had credit, you shouldn't get money from that, you should go to the bank and borrow it. So we didn't care about people's credit, we didn't care about people's income. We cared about the people who needed to be helped, who couldn't do it without it. We have 114 properties. Great.
114. So no longer, that's not gonna be available to be able to mitigate them. And then, just wanted to say this in essence, I know, Councilwoman Erica Harris is very pleased to see that the fencing around Standard Liquor on Eddy Street is finally there. So that way it's not a continuous eyesore. In those instances, that establishment has been fined many times. Are they in court or? Can you just expand it?
They are, as soon as we get to a fence, they're in court.
And then, once the court, for a homeowner, like we have a couple of others in, particularly, these are homes that people don't want to fix certain garages and they end up in court. The court holds them in contempt or who actually enforces those the court's directive? Does it go back to you guys?
Our legal team will take it from there and then we'll give them property or.
It just stays in the lien, basically, it could just take.
So if you wanna refi, you gotta leave, you gotta take care of it first.
Okay.
You wanna sell it, you gotta take care of it first.
Thank you.
I can tell you too, just different, to show something back in the talking about. The fines per day for working without a permit. First of all, I used to always wonder why anybody ever took a permit. You only paid $250 and your permit fee was $20,000. See if you get caught.
Yeah.
And so it's always been a problem, but we're not changing the fact that there are people out there putting a new roof on their house that didn't have any idea they needed to get a permit.
Yeah.
And if we catch someone doing it and it's a homeowner and his brother's helping him try to reshingle the house, we'll tell him to go down and grab a permit and we'll hold off for that day for the community to get the permit. So we're not going after everybody that way. It depends on the situation. If someone's building 30 units in an apartment, they haven't got a permit, they know exactly.
So just to clarify, so as a homeowner, and they're doing work in their home or in the basement or whatever, they don't need a permit.
So they do.
They do.
Oh,
They do, but they must.
Every homeowner needs a permit?
Everything built needs a permit.
Oh, okay. Does everybody know that?
Yeah.
All right, just wanna make sure.
Pick up on him.
Well,
Right.
I'm just saying, so there's a handful of exceptions. Maintenance and repair, things like that, like if you're replacing a couple shingles, fine, we don't anywhere. But if you're stripping the side of your house and putting vinyl siding on, you need a permit.
yeah. That's interesting because over the years, well, I guess I was, skip that part because if you were a homeowner. No, I haven't done any work, outside. But if you were a homeowner, you were doing it, and this was sort of like the practice in the city of Providence. That in essence, if you were the homeowner and you were doing the work that it wasn't major work, that people didn't require a certificate or at least a permit. That was the notion, that's why.
That was the notion. So what I tell people is that the permit is not for you because you will not anymore.
Yeah.
You will not live there forever. It's to ensure the building is gonna be minimum code for the next person.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
May I just ask, I will, so, with that said, and understanding there are quite a few people that do not understand the need permit, do you proactively go out and look for people that you can see from the street, or exactly how do you figure out who's doing what without permits?
At this moment, I have 4 people actively driving all the wards looking.
Thank you.
I have a deputy chief code compliance who is tracking all the vacants, going back around, touching them again and looking for new ones. And handling the additional load of looking for people working without permit
Mhm.
on top of everything else. So yes, that was the reason for pushing them to their cars.
Okay, I think Counselor Peterson and then Counselor Espinal, did you have a?
Yes.
Counselor Peterson first, and then
Thank you very much. First things first, I want to commend the work that you've done to make your department extremely efficient. Generating that much in a time where we absolutely need it. This is like huge and really, just thank you. It's a lot of work to transition teams and also, change things up to make them work smarter, not harder. So I commend the work. I wanted to ask, specifically, I want to get back on the home repair program because I came specifically to talk to you. Your office helped a constituent of mine who was in a really dire situation, and her being a disabled, she was a disabled elderly woman working part-time. And what you did to support her and to help her through her situation, her single family home. She doesn't stop talking about how grateful she is. So I want to really kind of praise the position, like the things that you've done to maintain our neighbors in their homes and be able to support them in that capacity. I think there's a lot to be said for programs like these, because, you know, our goal is to make sure that our neighbors stay in Providence, that they don't leave and, they establish their roots or maintain their roots here. So, I see this particular program as a vital component to what we continue to do. And, you said a number of people a number of 114 people waiting for something like this. And I'm a little perplexed because there's no more money, right? So, not saying that there's an opportunity for us to do this yet right now, but what I'm trying to figure out is how can we support a program like this with, the current situation that we're in, because it's essential for families here right now. It's clear as day. You did 75, worked with 75 different properties, and there's 114 waiting. It's clear as day that this is important and essential. So what do we do? How do we?
You know, I know, it's something that is really near and dear to my heart, that we've done. I remember it started 10 years ago when an older woman came in, we had issued a violation for a house, and her income was $700 a month. And, she asked me what she should do. And it wasn't through a complaint, it was from someone driving by the works and we issued violation. So I told her every year to come in and see me, and every year I gave her a 1-year extension. And I'm saying to Lisa Freeze, who was one of the solicitors at the time, this is ridiculous that we're doing this. I mean, we can't help people. We need to be able to help them.
Yeah.
And so, I worry about one department, and you guys at the administration worry about a lot of departments. But is it a program that is really critical to helping people? I mean, I really do. If they haven't got any way to fix their home, and they haven't got the ability to go borrow money, and they're looking at $50 a day fine. You know, you gotta, I deal with it every day in talking to people that have these situations. I remember an older couple that came in, and it was time to pay the fine, and I do talk to people, and it's not necessarily fine them all the money, it could be a lot of money. And the guy said, hey, I never got the violation, it was never sent to me. I said, well, we posted, no, never got it, never did anything, never anything else. I said, okay, well, and the wife looked at me and she was about 70 and she said, he's lying. We got all the notes. We got all the money.
Yeah.
I said, well, ma'am, you will not be fined one dime because you're honest and your husband should bow down to you. But those people that can't do that, it's the option.
Right.
You know, you gotta see what you can do to help them. You can get fine money. Mayor also said to me one time, we were finding people, and one time we collected 900,000 in 1 year. He said, how are you gonna know that what you're doing, noticing the banks and what you're doing, how do you know it's gonna work? He said, because the money's gonna drop dramatically, people are gonna be repaying that. And it's going from the 900,000 down to 50. And we haven't changed anything, except that people know what we're doing and we know how. But that doesn't eliminate the people that just, can't do it, can't do it. And I can't sit there and find someone that kind of money that just can't do it.
I appreciate your integrity. It means a lot to the city, so thank you.
If I may, we were fortunate enough to get $3 million at ARPA. And then we had, when I first came on board, we had $1.2 million in DIS fine money. That was the 900,000. And it's whittled down as we allocate so much. And we're working with other departments and like for even with the lead program, CPG money, things like that. We're trying to get the most we can for each structure. But yeah, we're at 55,000 a year in collecting fines. And so when it costs $25,000 to fix a home or 30,000, that's where we're at.
The average home is $48,000 that we work in. Average cost, so,
Okay,
Thank you.
Counselor
Excuse me.
Espinal.
Thank you. Half of my question has already been answered. Thank you for the work that you do in running that program. So I guess I'll shift into, have you looked into any federal programs that you can apply to grants out there to continue this type of work? Is there anything out there? Maybe because this is something that desperately needed for the citizens.
Absolutely, we've looked, we've put in several grants, sustainability, myself, Emily Friedman, we collaborated on going after grants. We did win a private grant, $50,000 of technical assistance for equitable code enforcement. And so we're gonna get those people and get some training for our team, see where we can improve the technical assistance for that. Unfortunately, with the way things are going, we don't know what monies we could get to bolster that. And you know, the flux of the nation. It is a wonderful program. Yes, we could fix a home a year with the $50,000. But again, to fund that, we're taking money from someone else, right? So that's why when I look at what we spend in the department, why we got rid of paper, why we did this scanning project. So I got rid of it, not ordering from WB Mason as much. So that's cutting those costs, getting rid of those costs as much as possible. And then moving through and see where we cut more, so it's gonna be making more efficient. So we're not spending more money. But I'm gonna tell you,
State of the Rhode Island has copied our program. They're doing the same thing.
they
They're
got
putting $6 million into it next year.
Yep.
Now that would mean when you look at, you know, the population and the people in different cities, you think that Providence would certainly be eligible for about 1.5 of that month, you know, in Socket, Central Falls, and this and that, but, actually 3 other cities that are signed to do the same home repair program. The state's doing, so we're trying to work with them and get as much as we can. But, relevant.
Thank you.
Okay, there's one final question. I'm looking at the personnel supplement. And I am just confirming that according to the administration, no one that's making over 100,000 is receiving a COLA.
Correct. So the way that was functionally applied was any position that was at a grade A 23 or above did not have a COLA applied to it. So the $100,000 is approximate. I think that range on the A 22 scale starts around 99-ish. And that is only applicable to non-union staff. Union staff are regardless of their salary.
Okay, so that applies to non-union staff.
Yes.
Okay. There, okay. All right, and then the steps are included in the salaries that you've listed in the personnel supplement.
Correct.
That they include the step increases.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming and thank you for the great job you're doing for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next. We will be doing, urban planning.
That's how we get here.
Okay, hello, Director and Deputy Director, thank you so much for coming.
Learned a lot about it.
I bet you did. And did we swear in the Deputy Director?
Not yet.
Sorry, I know you teach us here in the town, but that's not my kids. And please sit in the time for the record.
Robert A. is our deputy planning director.
Okay, and before we start, I would like to mark our packet on planning for this exhibit number 3. May I have a motion? Second, motion made by the boss, seconded by Council Brave, all in favor, and I all opposed. Okay. Who is starting? Let's see.
We'll kick this one off again and then I'll turn it over to the directors to talk a little bit about their department. Included in your packages is a work chart I think you all like very much. It is nice and big for you.
Yeah.
I like this one too. It's very easy to read. It's got salaries included. So I encourage you to look through that as we continue to go through this presentation. As we mentioned, it's today by Director Mulligan and Deputy Director Mesa. This is not a revenue generating department, so there will be no slides on revenue for this department. However, their total budget has grown by about 8.5%. The bulk of that is in benefits. We will get into a detail on salaries on the next slide. Overall, there is a reduction in services and a small increase in supplies that we'll see when we get to our cost side. Total salaries in fiscal 2025 are approximately $1.6 million. They have grown to $1.7 million in fiscal 2026. That increase is due to cost of living increases, as we mentioned before, for $36,000. Step increases for eligible employees for $33,000. There is an adjustment to the salaries for fiscal 2026 for the principal planners. I had inadvertently under budgeted them in fiscal 2025, and so this increase is bringing their salaries up to where they should have been, and adjusting them to the correct salary for fiscal 2026. Additionally, we defunded 2 employees. One is a customer service associate that was partially grant funded, so there's a salary savings in that line of $20,000. They've also defunded a vacant senior real estate officer position, and that salary is approximately $62,000, which does bring the total salaries in this fiscal year to $1.1
Yes, please, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Deputy Director. For the customer service associate, is that person no longer employed with the city?
Yes, these are both vacant positions that were defunded, and were not being filled due to the essential hiring freeze, and so. I would say in general, most of the positions that were defunded were for that case. We had not filled them during the essential hiring freeze. They were still vacant while we were building the proposed budget. We analyzed whether or not they would be essential for next year's operations and defunded them.
Okay. And will you flag for us when we get to the departments where there's an actual union person?
Sure will. Yes.
Thank you.
And last up, we have the breakdown of operational and fixed costs. We will amend this for the next hearing to break down whether there's services or supplies. Under the fixed costs, you'll see their primary fixed cost is building rent at $234,000. The increase attributed to building rent has to do with, it's not a true $61,000 increase to this department's rent. What had happened last year is, last year was the first year we split housing and human services out from that planning. We also had a little bit of turnover in the fiscal role for the planning department, and so as a result, there was just a misallocation of that expense, and so the increase is really, the true increase is about 3%, but this again is just adjusting for that misallocation in fiscal 2025. Their fixed costs are made up of rent and equipment rental, that is their copiers and plotters, which are critical to their services and are under contract. Discretionary software is their loan software that they use for processing loans and translation. Postage for mail and monthly statements and meeting notifications. Advertising at the airport and public meeting notices. Professional memberships. And printing costs are considered discretionary in this budget. As are professional services, which are used for comp plan design as well as consulting services throughout the fiscal year. Office supplies at $7,500. Food for city plan commission monthly meetings as necessary. Repairs to the plotter, which is approximately $1,500 in fiscal 2026. As well as training to maintain their employee credentials. Many of the planners and planning staff have national credentials that they need to maintain, and training is required to do so. And that wraps up the numbers component of this. The director from the second about the budget, so we'll just get into questions.
You know, simply that the department is responsible for innumerable issues related to the built environment. Well, we are important to respect the past and address the urgencies that that also in place, and I'm very clear that we do it in a very cost-effective way. We have very little turnover in the department with a professional staff that are capable and forward thinking, and that much of our funding also comes through grants, whether federal or state grants, as well as capital improvement funds. So we're great stewards of that money and get the maximum value that we can in order to facilitate significant improvements throughout the city, as well as confronting the challenges of the natural environment too, and how we address those and prepare Providence for future legislative billion and those prospects.
I think we probably should go to the organizational chart and talk about any unfilled positions, what your intention is with regard to the unfilled positions, how long they've been unfilled, and maybe you can just, you don't have many, so I'm just wondering if you can walk us through those.
Yes, notwithstanding the positions that have been defunded, we are looking at supplementing our neighborhood liaison with community engagement capacity as current position holder is advances his career, and we require that additional capacity. And the fiscal officer, I think, is the other position that is, because of the changes in the structural organization of the city and the multiple responsibilities associated with that. There's additional capacity required. I think, from the finance department.
Certainly, yeah, so this is not a new position, this, as the director alluded to, is, I know is part of the reorganization from when HHS split out from planning and merged in with, human services. And as a result, we've had some trouble backfilling this fiscal officer position. It is currently posted in an extremely critical position right now. Manosh, who is the director of fiscal operations for planning, is essentially covering 3 different jobs at this point in time. And so getting him additional support is going to be very, very critical. But I think, filling this role has been a little bit of a challenge because there's also the component of, filling the HHS role. How does that play in with this role and really understanding how those two different departments will function in this new environment? But the position will be filled, I would estimate, before the end of this fiscal year.
I just had a quick question on your principal planners. What are the different amounts here? The 80,000 and then the amount under Ryan Dickerson.
Those are
Jason
different.
Martin is 90%, so can you explain all that?
They're just at different steps. Ryan Dickerson was promoted into this position just last fiscal, this fiscal year, so he's at the lowest step. Everybody else, I believe, is at the top step. And Jason, 10% of his salary comes out of community development. So 90% of his salary is coming from the general.
And is the top step in that classification or 80,340? Okay, thank you. Yes, questions? Yes, Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Director, thank you, Deputy Director. First comment is I definitely appreciate adding names to the org chart. If we could do that to all the org charts going forward, it'd be much appreciated. My only really question is, when you look at the total, like I definitely, emphasize the appreciation for this graph. I think it's what we gotta be doing in tight budgets is looking at all the lines. But that total brings us that you presented here is 247,100,000. And when you look at the total in the budget book for services and supplies, that's over $400,000.
At the 247 plus the 164.
Oh, so the fixed, okay.
Yeah, the fixed and both the fixed and the discretionary equal the total of services and supplies.
Okay,
We'll add some totals in this to make it a little
all
clearer.
right,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I just need help reading Excel sheet.
Yes, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you for all of your work and for this. I just have two quick questions. One, I didn't understand the answer to the neighborhood liaison. You're filling that, right? Because Tim got promoted, so this is unfilled, but you'll post it. The neighborhood liaison. Is this being kept?
It is our hope to have that posted
Okay.
to support the capacity.
Yeah, I just didn't understand it. I knew Tim got promoted, but I didn't understand. And then the other is under Bob, who is so capable and worked with finance. Do all of these folks report to you, Bob? That's like a lot of people.
Well, so the organization is a little more flat than represented here. Jess more or less reports directly to Joe, but she's junior to me,
Oh,
and we collaborate. But I would say, it's some of the principal planners report directly to her and some of them report directly to me.
okay.
So what we call the planning division, is the management of that division is shared between Jess and myself.
Oh, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure you weren't doing like multiple people's jobs. Like managing that many people is a lot. Yeah.
Everyone in the
There's a lot
city
of
does
crossover.
multiple jobs.
We're very collaborative. and work together in multiple iterations, multiple entities. So it's a very functional and well structured.
I was mostly worried about Bob's mental health. And like, I didn't want to be in it.
I gave up.
It's pretty good. Thank you.
So I make sure this isn't too much.
Questions? Comments? Okay.
It's just another clarifying question.
Yes.
So like I get like the A number steps, what is like where it says principal planners, 34, what is that? What's that 34 mean?
Oh, that's the grade. So if you look at the ordinance book, There's grade and step tables included in that ordinance book. All of the non-union salaries start with an A, so it'd be like A1, A2, A3, A4. All of the union salaries do not have the A in front of them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, yes, Councilor Peterson.
Thank you. I have a question with regards to the planners. Can you explain to me a little bit what they do? The planners, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I mean, in ways, they could also be described as project managers, so, planning is I think the professional description, if you will, and that is also the source of their certification. But each of the individuals really have a varied skill set, and sometimes that is unique to themselves. For instance, we have planners who are very attuned into issues regarding resiliency and stormwater issues and kind of the natural environment. There are others who are focused on administering the capital budget contracts, so managing the design process, assembly of contract documents suitable for bid through the public procurement process, and then administering the construction or the implementation thereof. So the skill sets range, you know, from thinking broadly in terms of the city's place in the region, down to detailing the specifications to how many fasteners or how many inches of pavement should be put in the specific underlying required for that to create a municipal grade development that is not only functional, but that really is durable and will last for decades with little or no maintenance. And all bring us, you know, special perspective and personalities. And I think what is good about the department is that how they all complement each other, while maintaining the core functions responsible to achieve their goals and satisfy their position, and still allow their ability to, either through personal exploration, to find a path that satisfies the functions and the needs and requirements of the city over the long term.
Thank you. Can I just ask a follow-up?
Yes, please.
So in terms of the amount of projects that each of them balances on a daily basis, could you tell me, or even a yearly basis, could you tell me how many?
You know, it varies. First of all, everybody's got stuff coming at them every day that they didn't expect to deal with that day. And the more senior you are, I can tell you the more regular your day will be, because the life of these large contracts in the millions of dollars through the procurement processes and the requirements of different standards, as well as satisfying code requirements and other standards. They could be working on one project for a couple of years, while at the same time we're loading them up with quick hits or things that are more transitional in nature. So it is, and I think that's what makes the job interesting, where you have to focus on the long term as well as address the fire drills that come rattling through the office, whether it's an issue related to a problem intersection or something that might happen over the weekend, or, you know, something that changes on a national or regional level that we have to make adjustments to. So it's a constant state of learning and self-improvement, and I will say, for considering, you can see the pay rate that they are at. It's a tremendous amount of skills for the city. Gets quite a bargain for the professional capacity that people can bring to bear on a daily basis.
Thank you.
I have a quick question on services. I'm looking at our, the more detailed breakout in our, budget book. I see that we had quite a bump from 25 to 20, from, yeah, fiscal year 25. And I'm assuming that, is that related to the comp plan? Because I'm looking at both the other services and miscellaneous professional services. It seems in 2025, both those were very high. And they're still high and at least professional services miscellaneous is still high, so I'm wondering what that is. Looking at 52,125 and 53,227.
So other services is not related to the comprehensive plan. Professional services, so. What how that relates to the comprehensive plan is the document has been, the document's been approved. We are still working our way through state approval on that. So we know that there are going to be some amendments to it. When it's finally done, we want to do some graphic design and lay it out, so it's a proper professional document. So that's what that relates to, part of that money. And then professional services also includes hiring consultants to do designing and planning stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is that is the bank that we use in order to solve the problems that we are challenged with on a regular basis. And the miscellaneous professional fees can include, whether a planning study or an engineering analysis, environmental, professional services that we might have, or traffic studies and traffic analysis. So it is the kind of repository for design consulting services, professional services that we need in order to address issues that we're confronted with on a regular basis.
Okay, so the 25, let's just look at professional services. In 25, it's 146,000, then it's going to be 116, 116, 26, 27. And so the 146 just for 2025, why was that higher?
If I remember correctly, it was budgeted at 146 in fiscal 2023 as well. This, I think at the time the budget is adopted, I don't know that the planning department has a very specific list of the exact services that they're gonna need. They also have a hard time predicting what will come up in a fiscal year. So we like to ensure that they have enough money in this line item to pay for studies should something urgent and critical come up. And so the actuals you're seeing just indicate in those years that there was not an urgent critical study needed.
Okay, and then the other services line, we're going 2025 is 8,000 and then down to 3,026, but up to 8,027. Can you
Yeah.
explain that?
I think that so the 8,000 down to 3,000, we had reduced that in the proposed budget because we had brought it down to what the actual trend was showing was approximately $3,000. The $8,000 in the 27 budget was a carryover in the data set that just moved the 8,000 over, so we'll be bringing that down to $3,000 next in the final budget.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and then just one more question. We've already talked about the neighborhood liaison. No, principal planner, we have one of them that's 90% funded through the department. What about the director of physical operations? Who is here this evening? How are you? He's only 0.3.
Yes,
So
the balance of his salary is being grant funded, is that correct, Nosh? And also in the housing and human services budget. So his salary is split multiple.
okay. Multitasking.
He's a multitasking individual for sure.
Okay, that's it for my questions. Any other questions that anyone has? Okay, well, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you for the wonderful job you do for our city. Appreciate it. This is going to, I am going to allow a minute just in case anyone who is attending this evening might like to say something briefly about what we've discussed. In other words, listen to grant the variance. And I am going to allow him to, if he has a question related to tonight's finance meeting, we're happy to hear it, or if anyone else who's attending would like to speak very briefly, I'm happy to receive it. Anyone like to ask a question? Yes or no? Okay. Grant. That's okay, you just stand right there and speak up.
Thank you, Gary, for your comment. Just a couple of comments on the,
I would just caution about public comment, because it's not noticed for public comment. But if he had a question, I think the committee could entertain that, but public
Sorry.
comment, I'm just
I
cautious
had
that
to-
it's not noticed for.
I'm so sorry I've done that. Is there a question?
Can I ask a question responsible for your said?
We're not gonna question the opinion of the solicitor. If there's any clarifying, we're not gonna question the opinion of the solicitor, but if there's any question you have about tonight.
Regarding. New company after the many question is, there are talented people in finding department, who are appointed, confidence comes out. And so, they're looking at city, their argument was, well, we need to refresh population. Well, agree, fine, they're looking at where we want the population. White language. All stable. I have. And that would be my question. The reason I asked that question is because I want, not to be with it. I want to go to figuring out the mission of one day we can give 3 people. And it was found. Small house, I don't know, it's 500, 5,000. There's no way to tell. So it should be, what my share of those is everyone. But, you know, we're encouraging homeownership. Three state nation. Yeah. I was don't know, well, back. So that would be the question. The reason I did was
Brandon, I'm so sorry,
back.
well, no, because we have heard your testimony on this during the, in detail, when we did the comp plan public hearings, so I'm not sure that this is exactly budget related tonight. So I appreciate your comments, I really do, we have, definitely heard them, and I'm sorry they haven't been answered satisfactorily.
Then I ask a question on the special standard.
Yeah.
And my sense is that our perspective, the city shouldn't be to encourage them to raise funds, be punitive, collect money. My sense is that we're trying to be more collaborative and helping people accomplish the objective of what they want. Maybe we permits necessary things. I actually do from these and effort overhang. What they do, now, nobody, our president has to place the shingles. I get permit. But it doesn't make any sense. And then this last.
So class, if you're using some class, you want to go, it's a class. And we really have to go on reading this. Tired, pain, to the crowd, get it back in there. I would be back. So I think it's really what we're looking at.
Thank you. Thank you, we appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yes, is there any other? Okay, may I have a motion to continue?
Thank you.
Continue all the budget items.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Yes, motion to adjourn, made by Councilor Taylor.
Okay, thanks,
Aye.